Yeah, it's a Wednesday edition of Orange and Blue Today. Cecil Lammy, Andrew Mason, Denver Broncos, and this offense, Mace. I love what JK Dobbins is doing. I'd just like to see a little bit more RJ Harvey.
Well, Sean Payton alluded to this on Monday, that JK Dobbins was the hot hand Sunday, and so that meant he was going to get more work. You know, it's fantasy player's nightmare, but it is probably the best way to go about things in this offense. So there'll probably be some games going forward where RJ Harvey gets the better of it early, and then that means you see more of RJ in the game than JK. It's just that we've got the relatively small sample size here. We've only got 2 games. And in one of the games this past week against the Colts, we saw very little of RJ and quite a bit of JK Dobbins. But Dobbins was more effective than RJ when they got the chances. So thus you were going to see more of Dobbins. So that's just how it worked. I mean, we're basically at a too early to call stage when we're analyzing this and how these carries and these touches are going to be distributed.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Monday's comments about the hot hand, because I wanted to know, essentially without asking, just straight up, like, what does RJ Harvey do to earn more touches? I wanted to know the emotion around a young player, because we remember young Marvin Mims.
Yeah.
Man, that guy wanted to play, huh? Look at Troy Franklin. My God, that young man, he's out there attacking things. And we know from behind the scenes, like, RJ Harvey has that same sort of mindset, like a Marvin, like a Troy, like, give me the ball, give me the rock, like that sort of attitude, not a negative attitude to be sure, Mace. But I just wanted to know from Sean Payton's point of view, using the word vision, like, how do you manage a young player's emotions when they're so fired up like that?
I mean, that's part of it, right? How do you manage the emotions, and like, how do you basically deal with it when that player isn't getting the carries? Here's Sean Payton from today's press conference.
He'll continue to get base down work for us, third down work for us. He's going to be an important piece. He is an important piece of what we're doing offensively. Both he and JK. Tyler's got a role right now. But I think I've said it before. I think it's easier to manage two, and I'm familiar with doing that. And it also takes a little bit of the workload off of just one of them.
I like that. And Tyler's got a role right now. It's interesting.
What's interesting is also, if you look at the snap count percentage-wise, first game, RJ Harvey, 29% of the snaps.
Okay. Second
game, 33% of the snaps. So he actually had more. He had more snaps, and he only had one fewer touch than he did in week 1, because he had 7 touches in week 1, 6 in week 2. It's just that you look at the production, because of course he had the 50-yard run in week 1, and then in week 2 he only had 5 carries for 8 yards and then 1 reception for 16 yards. So his yards from scrimmage goes from 69 to 24. And so I think there's part of that. But Sean Payton also mentioned Tyler Bidet, RB3. Tyler Bidet got 18% of the snaps in week 1 and then 22% of the snaps in week 2. And then Payton went back to the whole thing of it's, harder to get 3 running backs opportunities. It's easier to do 2. Okay, well, here you're talking about you're still trying to get 3 running backs in there if you've got RB3 who so far this season's getting roughly 20% of the snaps. And right. RJ Harvey so far this season, roughly 30% of the snaps. So that's leaving about half the snaps roughly for JK Dobbins. So what you have right now effectively is what you have in terms of the snap count is a clear RB1. You've got kind of a 2A, 2B split. To be or not to be, that is the question.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mace, I don't remember Jaleel getting that sort of snap count like Tyler. Now, Tyler can do a little bit more, and we're anxiously awaiting if Jalil can get a jersey this year. He will at some point, but I don't remember his number being as high as Tyler, and we appreciate Tyler Bidet. But maybe for me, and no, Mase, it's not a fantasy football take, although it can be taken as such. I kind of want a little more RJ. I've said it on the air, more RJ equals more W's. And I want to see more of that kid because at any moment we could have that 50-yard play. And it's like, you get something that's fun. You want to see it again. You want to do it again. I want to see RJ break off another one. And both you and I know it only takes one touch.
It does. Now, the snap count for Jalil increased last year out of necessity. But
sure,
I think you're talking about as a rookie when you had Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine.
Right.
And there were a few games early where he played a bunch. He played 33% of the snaps against Chicago and against the Jets, and then 40% of the snaps in a Thursday night game, week 6 at Kansas City. And then after that, it settled down to somewhere below 20% until the final 3 weeks of the season. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Whereas we're talking, Tyler Bidet right there at 20% of the snaps. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I would say if you want a clear RB1, RB2, and then a smattering of snaps for the third guy, it would seem more like you'd want a 50-40-10 split,
yes,
not 50-30-20. And if you really want to get RJ Harvey ramped up, then you'd probably want 50-40-10 rather than 50-30-20, which is what effectively we've seen over the first 2 games of the year is 50-30-20. In other words, Harvey's snap count is closer to that of Bidet than it is that of JK Dobbins. And that's not something I think that is the most ideal thing. I think you want to look at the end of the day and see RJ's snap count closer to where Tyler Bidet, to where JK's is than Bidet's.
Yeah, I love 50-40-10. And Michael in our chat room brings up time to use RJ Harvey as the Joker. We got to talk about the Evan Engram thing. I did have a different question for Sean Payton today, but he's not going to talk about Evan Engram because he didn't practice.
Right. And it's a different injury now, by the way. It's a back issue. So he had the calf issue coming out of week 1 that led to him being limited early last week, but then still was good to go. Wednesday, he's a DNP because of the back issue. And it's worth noting that he wasn't even over on the side field. You had on the side field, Dre Greenlaw. He was a DNP, but he was off to the side. Evan Engram wasn't even over on the side field. Now, that being said, you had last week John Franklin Myers, a DNP on Wednesday, and not on the side field, and then he was out there Thursday and good to go. So maybe it's something like that, and it becomes maintenance, and then Evan Engram, if he's out there practicing on Thursday, then I think you can expect to see him on Sunday. But yeah, that was interesting. And Sean Payton won't even talk about the use of a player when the player's injured. That's the thing. Like I imagine the question. So it wasn't just they didn't want to talk about the injury. He didn't want to talk about anything regarding said player, period.
Right. Yeah. Not talking about it. He's like Jordan Hudson or whatever her name is. Like, I'm not talking about it. Okay, Sean. Well, we got plenty to ask him, though, that's for sure, about this offense, which in week 2, we gained confidence from this offense. And against the Chargers, they're going to need to be at their best. I'm going to ask you something, Mason. I'm a bit older than you, so perhaps it's a little bit off in terms of a reference. But does Sean Payton have too many toys? Because he has to get Bidet out there. I mean, you don't need to. When I was young, I had Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe. Yeah. So why would I want to play with Grunt or Flash? Yeah. These are super nerdy. I got a box of G.I. Joe comics like right here. But anyway, like, well, I got the good toys. Why do I want to play with the other guys? I got Rock and Roll and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. I don't need I don't need grunt and flash. I'm good. But Sean, it's almost he's got so many guys he could feed, and they do like Bidet, and maybe that's what causes this early season snap count.
Well, it's maybe an issue with the guys catching the ball, right? I mean, somebody's going to be left wanting at the end of the day because there's only one ball to go around. Or some bodies are going to be left wanting.
Right.
So you look at the end of week 2, and Cortland Sutton only has one catch, and Evan Engram has just one catch. It's a big day for Troy Franklin, and you're ecstatic about that because you're encouraged by the progress, encouraged about where he is now compared to where he was as a rookie and how he's coming along. But you're also like, okay, how come Cortland Sutton is sitting here through 2 games and he's only got, 67 yards, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, is that a number that you're a little bit concerned about at this point? Yep, 67 yards. Marvin Mims Jr. has 5 catches for 36 yards through 2 games. That's something that probably is a disappointing number so far. I mean, he has the touchdown last week, which is good. And I mean, he got 23 of his yards on 1 catch. The other 4 catches, he has 13 yards. Like, that's right. Probably not what you were hoping for from Marvin Mims Jr. 2 weeks into the season. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, that being said, the passing offense did not account for much in week 1. That's probably why you're seeing some of these depressed numbers right now. The Broncos, the total number of receiving yards for the Broncos through 2 games is 382. So that's 191 per game. That's not exactly what you want. So that's got to improve.
Yeah, it's got to improve, and we anticipate that it will improve. But I just wanted to know if maybe Payton is just, it's a little too much. I wouldn't mind force-feeding Sutton. Yeah. And the way Franklin's playing, Mase, I think he deserves to be force-fed as well. But Sean's not going to do that. And by the way, Bo's not going to do that. Not unless it's designed like this is a court play. Like Bo's favorite guy is the open guy. So it's not like he only looks at court or only looks at Troy. He reads the entire field. And I thought Dan Orlovsky this morning on our morning show said like, oh, he's ahead. He's like assuming coverage instead of reading coverage. And I haven't picked that up from Bo this year.
So one thing I think that's interesting there also is, I mean, first of all, the assuming coverage thing is interesting. I mean, second of all is looking at the right guy being the open guy and not force feeding it. You could maybe say there were a couple of moments in week 1 where he was force feeding it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could maybe say at least one of the interceptions was probably a force feed. So it's not like that's out of the equation either, because we've probably seen at least one pick this year that was a force feed play. Trying to get to a guy that probably was an ill-advised decision in that moment. So I don't necessarily think you're completely past that.
Not yet. Not yet. More to talk about with this Denver Broncos team. But before that, how about a word from our sponsor?
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
All right, Mase, before we get into your Alex Singleton conversation you had in the locker room, I just have to ask, because I'm curious as well, and my buddy Jason wants to know, is that a UNC Bears hat on Whammy Burger Mase?
No. That is, well, it's a San Jose Giants hat, but It's when they rebrand as the churro, so it's actually a churro with a baseball bat. So
I love it. I love that hat. I knew it wasn't
Yeah.
the Golden Bears, but I just wanted to get that
no.
question out there for our guy Jason.
No. Sorry. It's
Okay.
just minor league baseball. That's all it is.
Those are cool hats, man. Those are good designs, cool hats. Cool guy and Alex Singleton. You had a chance to catch up with him in the locker room today. What did you take away?
Well, first of all, like I asked him about just what he got from the film, and basically it was what you expected. Gotta get better. The entire team, that sort of thing. What I thought was interesting, he did mention that he said the debriefings, as the term that gets thrown around by Sean Payton, he said the debriefings are pretty much the same after wins as they are after losses. And that's a healthy thing, because he said, we kind of get critical after wins. And so it keeps it from being too down after defeats. And so they're sort of going kind of for the even keel thing, which I think kind of goes hand in hand with the thing I always say, that you're rarely as good as you think you are after a win, and you're rarely as bad as things think they are, as things seem to be after a loss. But the other question that I wanted to ask Alex Singleton, it was basically about his knee, and just something that often comes up with players coming off of an ACL injury is getting past that mental hurdle of thinking about it. Like, are you conscious of the knee and trusting it as you're coming back, and basically kind of ascertaining, is it affecting him? And he had an interesting answer to that. Here's Alex Singleton to my question about trusting the knee and whether he's thinking about it being out there for just 2 games on a full-scale basis since returning.
Yeah, knee's great. I haven't had to think about it, which has been nice. I told people, if you want to not think about your knee, break your thumb. So it's the best thing I could have done was hurt a hand to let the knee go. But it's been great. I think this weekend is a year since it happened, but I'm 11 months post-surgery, so it feels really good, and every week honestly gets better.
So okay,
knee feels great. I wouldn't describe it as great.
Knee feels great, and so basically, he's not using that as an excuse. It's not an excuse there,
right?
So,
well, I would say, man, I would have liked to have known his percentage. You know what I mean? He mentions 11 months post surgery, and we are a year from the injury. Of course, last year, week 3, because we're in West Virginia a year ago for week 4, preparing for that Jets game. And then you see Singleton with the brace on. So you're like, uh-oh, that's not good. But these guys aren't Adrian Peterson. Nobody really is. And it used to take 12 months. Hell, Mase, you and I are old enough to remember when it took 1.5 years, a full 18 months. I had to do the math. 18 months for a knee to really be back to 100%. So whereas it feels great, I would just guesstimate his knee's probably about 80%. That's just me guessing.
Well, I mean, we've seen that clip on the Jonathan Taylor big run where he's there and he fills the hole, and Taylor just scoots past him. I mean, the thing that kind of, you watch that and it's rough, is like he's in position, like he reads it well. Mm-hmm. Like, in other words, DJ misses he dives and misses in the backfield, but Singleton has read that and he's in the right spot, and Taylor just runs past him. And that's like, I think that's sort of the frustrating thing when you watch that, is knowing that he's gotten himself in the right place to be able to take care of it. And yet the running back gets past him and turns it into a game-breaking play. So that's where, like, okay, like, all right, it's not the knee. Like he says it's not the knee. So, what's going on? I mean, it's not. The old cliche, the film don't lie, and Certainly the film hasn't been what you'd want it to be so far in this season for Alex Singleton. So you got to still give it some time. But by the way, today, not only did you not have Dre Greenlaw out there, you didn't have Justin Sternad out there. He landed on the injury report with a foot issue. So you didn't have Greenlaw, and you didn't have Sternad, and you still have Drew Sanders on injured reserve. There's always one position, Cease, most years on a roster that has injuries galore. Like most years, there's always a cluster of injuries at one position. By the way, remember how you and I were saying 50 games? That's what you're looking to get out of the
those four players. I wanted 50 games.
Yes, four free agents, 50 games. Well, right now, with the 2 games missed by Dre Greenlaw, the Broncos are actually on pace to get 51 games out of those 4. But you didn't have Engram out there today with a back issue, and you still don't have Dre Greenlaw out there. By the way,
the pace could change then, is what you're saying.
Talanoa Hufanga today was limited in practice. He did practice. He was out there, but he was limited with a chest issue. So you have Hufanga, Engram, and Greenlaw. 3 of the 4 guys were on the injury report today. Only JK Dobbins of the 4 free agent signees was not on the injury report.
Put him in bubble wrap.
I mean, and also right now, if you're looking at Singleton, coming back from the ACL and, still trying to find his footing, Greenlaw DMP, if Sternad is not out there, I mean, if Sternad's not out there, you're having to turn to Lavelle Bailey or Corene Reed. So Lavelle Bailey, someone who's been on your practice squad, Corene Reed would be making his first start in the NFL against a team with a quarterback who would then look to dissect the middle of the field. So, as you'd say, not great, Bob.
Yeah, you don't want Will Dissly to start looking like Antonio Gates out there. So we're going to get more into this Chargers game, what the Broncos offense can do, what the Broncos defense can do. Yes, sir.
May I remind you of what Will Dissly did in his first NFL game.
And he's known as a blocker coming out of college in his very first game. Might have been the first play, Mase. Like Dissly made a big impact early with the Seattle Seahawks in his very first pro game.
It remains his career high, 105 yards on 3 catches in his very first game back in 2018. Another example of, again, for whatever reason, VJ's defenses struggle to cover tight ends.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It is, unfortunately, it's a thing that existed here when he was the head coach and Joe Woods was the defensive coordinator. It existed in Arizona as DC, and we're seeing it here now. So, it could be Will Dissly coming back to haunt the Broncos again. Good gravy, man.
No. And it's Greg Roman passing the ball with Justin Herbert. So lots to get into with this contest. We'll be there for you, of course, and hear from our coordinators tomorrow to see what they say about the week that was and then this upcoming matchup. Turn to the page.
Yeah.
Turn to the page, Mase. It's the best advice, and especially after the way they lost that Colts game.
Yes. All you can do. Flush it and move on. That's all you can do. Tomorrow is the next day. I know, tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's the next day, too.
Look, everybody, it's Tony Robbins. All right, that is a wrap for Orange Blue today here on a Wednesday. Mase, we love all of our YouTube audience. We love all of our audience, no matter what. And thank you very much for the success of Orange Blue today. We appreciate you. We love doing the show. It's our happy place, and we love that you enjoy it as well. So how can folks further help us out here on YouTube, Mase?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
Never.
Miss.
Vid.
Vid. That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammy saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?